You're listening to the 49 Carats podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and I'm back with another prospect interview. Joining me today is Boise State Edge, George Tarlas. George, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Make sure you guys hit that like button for George. We're going to get right into it. George, I usually start these by asking about, players' time in college, but I couldn't help but notice that you were born in Greece and you actually grew up in Greece. So tell me a little bit more about that and when did you actually get to the States?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Greece until the age of 16. And we grew up playing basketball, soccer, and I did karate too. I got a black belt in that.
Nice.
I did that for 10 years, and I started playing pro basketball when I was 13. That's when I went in Athens, and I played for Ikaros Kalitheas. And after that, it was kind of like a snowball effect. Like I started playing for my national team and for 3 years. And then when I was 16, we were like, okay, we'll go to the States and trying to go to college, maybe trying to get a D1 offer and try the NBA, right? And it didn't work out that way. Things took a different turn, but I'm forever grateful for having that background from multiple aspects, right? Like cultural perspective and just the athletic abilities that you build over the years with different sports.
Right. And you were a bit of a late bloomer in terms of playing football, right? Like you didn't start until your junior year of high school. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
That's crazy. So like in this short amount of time, you've been able to look this good playing football. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it's come pretty easy for you. How was that adjustment? I guess like because a lot of times, guys who are playing in high school, they've been playing for some time now. So did you feel like there was some catching up to do, or did you feel like the sport was just very natural?
Both. I mean, the sport was natural because I was a big and athletic guy already. I was 6'3", at 230 pounds, playing defensive end in high school, right? And it came naturally to be able to make plays, and it was more fun than basketball, I gotta admit, right? It's physical, the thrill you get and everything, but being able to catch up on it as far as learning the game, that was one of the best things that I decided to do, because once I got in the college at Weber State out of high school, I was so intrigued and interested on how the game worked and what does the quarterback think when, you have double safety stacked, or where does the blitz come from? How do they slide the whole line? Mm-hmm. All these different things that come into it that if you talk to me about basketball, I knew everything. But for football, I didn't know a thing.
Yeah.
So it was super interesting to me to learn that aspect of the game.
Yeah, I know. I feel like football to me, personally, it's one of the most like humbling sports to learn because there's just so many intricacies to it. There's so many layers of knowledge to kind of dig into. So I could just imagine. I mean, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface myself. But okay, so talk to me about the basketball experience. How do you feel like some of those skill sets kind of play into, your football talent at this point? Do some of those skill sets translate, you think?
Definitely. Like the footwork that comes in with basketball, because I would play a point guard, I would play a shooting guard, I would play power forward because I was athletic and everything. So for me, being able to use my body in a way to sneak past you, because it's not football. When you play basketball, you're trying to avoid contact most of the time to go and make a play, right? And being able to do that is like doing a crossover, playing a DN to pass the offensive tackle. Like it's literally you give him a little pump fake and boom, you're past them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's,
Um well you did end your collegiate career at Boise State, but you did play 4 seasons at Weber State. Why'd you feel it was time for you to move on from Weber when you did?
for me, it was more about being able to adapt to a new environment and get a different perspective in coaching, because like we said, I hadn't been able to get coached by multiple coaches with different perspectives on defense, and a lot of coaches teach things differently. Like
Yeah.
I've had to experience that with basketball. I've
Mhm.
dealt with over 10 different head coaches at basketball, so being able to see a different perspective and learning the fundamentals and techniques that everyone else learned in junior high or whatever, that was something important to me, to be able to translate that and add it to my toolbox, but also being able to adapt to a new circumstance, like a new environment, being able to go from a different state, because I'm married as well. So it's you bring my wife with me, and then we got 2 dogs, it's a new house, it's a new environment, new coaches, new building. So being able to adapt to all these things, it's I feel like it's super important in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, so it was kind of like you knew what was coming and you just wanted to be ready for it, make sure that,
Right.
you kind of had that experience already. That totally makes sense. And I'm sure your time at Boise didn't exactly end how you had envisioned. You suffered a season-ending hip injury halfway through the season. Walk me through that time for you. Like, what was it? What was going through your head? How did you stay positive through all that?
Well, I never doubted myself that I wasn't going to be able to, chase my dream, the NFL. And it's funny because after the game, my hip popped again, right? And so I finished the game, the last series, after I broke it. And I told the doctors, I was like, I think my hip is out of place or something. Like it just popped again. And they were like, okay, we'll just get some x rays and see what's going on.
Hmm.
On the first round of x rays, they couldn't see anything, but they were like, yeah, you're fine. It's probably just a pop. And then they saw a little like fragment, right? It was a little fractured. And they were like, let's take another series of x rays. And they finally saw the fracture in the hip socket. And the doctor walks in and he's like, yeah, you broke your hip. And I was like, no, I didn't. So,
That's crazy.
to me, being able to stay on course, it was the most important thing. Like I had to be patient and stay in my tunnel vision and do what was important for my recovery, because you can't, the obstacle is the way. So that
Yeah.
was supposed to teach me something. And every week I would ask myself, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And every week it will be a better answer, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to find a trainer to train on your own and deal with a recovery without the team structure like it's in college. Isn't that how it is in the NFL too?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's something for me to experience now and learn, so I can be ready to face those obstacles in the future if they happen again.
Yeah, that's a very positive outlook to have on it. I mean, at the end of the day, every experience is an experience that you can learn from and take things from. So, I definitely appreciate that perspective. So how are you doing now? Like, I'm assuming at this point, like, you've gone through your rehab. Now you're preparing for your pro day. So I'm guessing like all is well at this point, right?
Yes, it is. I mean, this past month or so, it's been pretty much at 100% rate to be able to condition those muscles
Hmm.
to run full speed. And it's a little setback you get because they get sore, right? But
Yeah.
then like after 2 days, you're back at it at full speed. So now I've been able to maintain that for the past month. And let me tell you, my shuttle a couple days ago was a solid 4.34. So
Nice.
I'm super excited for what's to come, and to just show everyone and the scouts and the 49ers, how I'm able to bounce back with any obstacle in my way.
Yeah, and I know like before the injury, I'm sure you felt like even after the injury happened, you probably felt like, I think I did enough in those 7 games. Like I put some good tape on there. You led the team with 6 tackles for loss. You were second in sacks with 4. And, if that wasn't enough, you did get a chance to show scouts what you're made of, or at least you had the chance to, right? You were invited to the NFLPA Bowl. How did it feel to get that invite?
That was so amazing. Like, I was super grateful for it. The fact that I was able to go to one of those bowls and not participate in sports, like, in the physical aspect, and be able to do the interviews, like, that's like the best thing that could have happened to me. So I took full advantage of that, and I was able to talk to multiple scouts, including the 49ers, right? And it was just, okay, now the scouts can see what type of person I am.
Yeah.
And also they got the film. Now what I got left is my pro day to show that I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easy to see why you would get the invite, like the things I see is you're quick off the snap, you're relentless in your pursuit, you're disruptive, you know how to work through contact, work through blocks. What popped out at me the most though is you're great at run defense. Like a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times, like guys on the edge, that usually comes secondary to them. Usually they're more of like pure pass rusher, but it seems like you already have that down, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's a great strength to have. What has made you such a good run defender, you think?
Multiple perspectives on teaching how to stop the run, from different coaches and different schools, that from Weber State and Boise State. For example, at Weber State, our responsibility was mainly to hold your gap, right? And keep the outside hand open and make sure they don't run through the C gap, squeeze them in the B gap, right? Now with Boise State, we're a little more aggressive with different things and being able to shed the block and go make the TFL. And putting those things into play depending on the guy you go against to, that's critical. Like you might go against a guy that's 6'7", 350 pounds. Like you can take the fight on one-on-one, but if you don't feel comfortable, there's a different technique to play that, right? And to me, it's just like I'm never scared of the guy in front of me to run towards me. Like you're not gonna run through me, whatever you do. Like I'm just gonna lock my hand out and then I'm just put you on the ground. So I always love the run defense.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it, like when I've watched you play. So when it comes to film study, what are some of the things that you're looking for in your opponent?
So every week it will be different, right? And being able to break down film, like that was something I had to learn as well. Like I had never watched film before I went to college. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, my coach Duff at Weber State, he had a little nice board with notes of like what you want to watch on different people and different teams. And first of all, you got to break down what size and like what dominant hands and personalities are the people you go against. Like, is the tackle tall? Like, how tall is he? How big is he? Where does he punch? Does he punch low? Does he punch high? What did he do when he lost his rep? Right? How did he respond to that? Or how did he lose his rep? You know what I mean? There's so many
Right.
little things that you could look into that. And for me, I got to be like a film nerd. Like I just love watching all these little clues and being able to identify all those things, because like you said, they would run the ball to my side and it wouldn't work. And so I had to learn how to go make plays now.
Yeah, I mean, because it must be so like gratifying to, you know, you've seen something on tape and to then be
Mm-hmm.
able to act on it in real time, like that must feel
Yeah,
so good. So then it makes you want to watch more tape,
it does. Yes,
I'm
it
sure
does.
that's the feeling.
Yes, it
Well,
does.
okay, so Boise State Pro Day, it's 11 days away, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how ready are you to show what you can do one last time in front of NFL scouts?
Oh, I'm more than ready. I gotta USA. You know USA?
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta USA myself because it's
Little Wusa.
yeah, it's super exciting, like that opportunity is like one in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And this is my opportunity. So what I can do and to make the scouts trust me.
Hmm.
And I've been doing everything in my power to do that. So like when the time comes, it's just gonna speak for itself. Like I don't wanna do any praising, I don't wanna do any promises or anything like that. I just know that I'm ready. I just gotta wait.
So, what has it been like for you, like going straight from rehab to, what I can only imagine is like this intense training for your pro day. Like, was that kind of difficult to,
Mhm.
go from that to this?
It was because of the time limit as well. Like I told you earlier, I had to implement 80% or 100% of those drills to be able to bend, to be able to change direction and things
Mhm.
like that. And there's these little muscles that they're in the glute. You have the inner muscles in the glute, and then you have a big flap on top. The
Mm.
big flap on top was nice and good, but the inner muscles took a lot more work to get them conditioned to perform at 100%. So it wasn't the easiest. It was a process where I had to trust, I had to trust my trainer without trying to do all these extra things and being pain for a whole week rather than one day of being
Mhm.
sore. You know what I mean? So it was trusting the process at 100% rate. Like I could have not done it without a trainer, which
Right.
again, that's something I had to learn as well, to be able to be patient through the recovery and the rehab so you can perform at a high rate.
Well, I'm happy to know that you're going to be able to do your pro day with no limitations. And, I wish you luck. What has been the feedback that you've gotten from teams so far? Because, I mean, you've mentioned you've been able to speak to a few teams at this point. What have they been saying about you?
Well, like you said too, they really like my pursuit to the ball, like how relentless I am, my first step, like how explosive it is. And I think that comes with the natural instincts that I have of playing sports all these years.
Mhm.
And they really love that. Like the 49ers really like me to play like on the boundary side, for example, to just be disruptive all day long and go get the quarterback, make it hell in there. So uh, and then there's other teams like the Dolphins had similar guys to my size playing outside linebackers, right? And being able to run to the ball like crazy. The Vikings were another team that were super interested too. And there's multiple teams that had a lot of interest, but now I just had to be able to be patient for the pro day. Like there was only so much that I can be promised to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And so you mentioned the 49ers. I take it that that meeting went pretty well. That conversation went well.
Yes, it did. Yeah, my guy even texted me before the PA Bowl, like a few days. He was excited to meet with me.
Nice. That's great to hear. And okay, I know you would be happy to be drafted by any team. But hypothetically, like, what would it mean to be able to play for a defensive line coach like Chris Kasarik, and be able to learn under the guys on that line? Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead. It's just to name a few.
Shit, that would be like dream come true. I don't know, like it would be like I would be like a sponge every day in there. I would just receive all feedback, to learn everything that I can learn from them at a daily basis, and I would do it at 100% rate. Like, yeah, that's a dream come true job right there. Like I can't argue that.
Are there any like players that are in the NFL that like you've watched a lot of, cuz I know that you started playing football in high school, and so have did you kind of watch other guys play to kind of, soak some of that in?
Yeah, I mean the ones that I was into was a lot of TJ Watt. Like I kind of
Mm,
like his
yeah.
physicality and just the way he played, you know what I mean? Like he's a big dude and strong and fast and he can bend. And then I really liked Max Crosby because he's super instinctive, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
and like he just reacts to what the O line gives you, and that's like a main component of being a good pass rusher. So being able to watch those guys, it always gave me a little feedback to be able to put it in my toolbox.
Right. I mean, those are definitely two great guys
Yeah.
to watch, right? One last question for you. I like to end all my interviews with this. What is a team? What is a fan base getting with George Tarlas?
Oh, but you didn't prepare me for this question. Uh, so a team that drafts me and gets to pick me, right, would get a player that would give it all. Like I'm Greek, I told my wife the other day, I love you with all my heart. Like I'm not gonna hold back to anything, and that's to everything I do in my everyday life. So I will commit to the situation and the team and the family and the community that I'm a part of, and I'll try to make the best impact that I can ever make. So that's who I am.
I love it. Love that answer. I'm sure, the fans of whatever team, drafts you would love that answer as well. George, it's been a pleasure to have you on. I know it's a busy time for you right now. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today, letting me get to know you. Good luck on your pro day. I'm going to be watching, or I don't know if they'll have a live stream, but I'll check Twitter. I'm going to keep tabs on
we'll
it.
repost everything. Don't worry.
Yeah. So good luck on that. And of course, beyond that, I'll definitely be following along. And thank you to those of you who tuned in. If you enjoyed this interview, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, because there will be plenty more content like this to come. As of now, have a good rest of your Thursday evening, folks. Peace.
All right. Thank you.